Was the move about getting away from the UK press, because the press is, is everywhere, or was the move because you weren't getting enough support from the firm?
It was really hard. Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered. But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it, and I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
What happens when the people who once saved you suddenly stop saying your name? When the gates of Hollywood close, not with a bang, but with a silent, soul-crushing lock. Tonight, we're diving into one of the biggest betrayals ever whispered in the entertainment world, and it came from the mouth of none other than Tyler Perry. Yes, Tyler Perry, the man who once flew Meghan Markle and Prince Harry to safety in a private jet, handed them keys to his mansion and paid their security out of pocket, just dropped a truth bomb at the BET Awards.
I want to talk to you about this thing that is happening in this country, and I want you to pay attention to it. Don't miss this. They are removing our books from libraries. They are removing our stories and our history. They are removing our names from government buildings. It's as if someone wants to erase our footprints.
And the aftershocks are still shaking the red carpets. It was supposed to be a night of celebration, a night to honor Black excellence, flashbulbs popping, gowns glistening. But when Perry stepped onto the stage, no music, no fanfare, you could feel it. Something real was about to go down. In a voice that held both fire and fatigue, Perry began telling a story, not fiction, not one of his movie scripts, but a personal betrayal.
Because what we need to understand is that if our children don't know our history, they won't know our power. But the truth of the matter, it's impossible to erase our footprints because we left them on water. What I mean by that is, we were snatched from our homeland, brought across the ocean, and left footprints all the way to America. When they tried to silence a king named King to keep his voice down, it still echoes through generations to generations to generations because you cannot erase our footprints.
A woman had called him, scared, confused. "I don't know where to go," she said. No names needed. Everyone knew who it was, Meghan Markle. When the palace shut them out, it was Perry who stepped in. Private jet, multi-million-dollar estate, round-the-clock security. He told them, "This is your home. Stay as long as you need. No contracts, no conditions, just kindness." But that kindness, it was met with something else entirely. What started as gratitude morphed into entitlement. First it was a personal chef, then a live stream stylist, and finally, a request to borrow his private helicopter to unwind. Perry refused. "I'm not your pilot," he said. "This is not a resort." And just like that, Meghan turned cold, distant, aloof. His staff were treated like servants in a royal drama gone rogue. From tantrums over food to berating security for simply doing their job, Meghan's behavior, Perry said, became impossible to ignore. Here's where the fairy tale fractures. Not with betrayal, but with a bill. Tyler Perry thought he was helping two people rebuild their lives, but instead, he was unknowingly funding a lifestyle. He never asked for a dime, never drew up a contract, never sent an invoice. But the expenses, they piled up like royalty-sized shopping carts. Private security teams, top-tier immigration lawyers, personal chefs, luxury groceries, staff overtime, even household items they couldn't afford to buy themselves.
Everything is larger than life. Even to this day, it's still larger than life for them, where everywhere she goes or whatever she does, or she puts on something, it sells out. It just, their paparazzi in the corners. So I wanted to be a safe place. I sent her a note. We had this, everybody thought Oprah introduced us, but Oprah didn't even know that I reached out to them. And I sent them a note through we had the same publicist years ago, and just said, if you ever need anything, here. And she called months later and just talked to me like I was that therapist you talked to.
And Meghan, she said they'd repay him. Once the Netflix deal lands, she promised. Well, the Netflix deal landed with a $100 million thud. But Perry's phone never rang. No Venmo, No wire transfer, not even a, hey, we're working on it. And what did Meghan and Harry do instead? They vanished. They didn't just ghost Perry, they went radio silent. Until news broke months later, a $21 million estate in Montecito, California, bought by Meghan and Harry. Perry was stunned. I sat there, he said, coffee in hand, staring at the article like it was fiction. They once told me they were broke. No bank would touch them. And now they're buying mansions while I'm still footing the bill for their groceries. And when he tried to reach out, nothing. Not a single word back. Until she needed him again. A documentary pitch, a brand partnership, a favor. But this time, Perry had one simple ask. Can I read the script first? That's when the calls stopped again. Because Meghan didn't want transparency. She wanted access. And when kindness is treated like a revolving credit line, that's not a friendship. That's a transaction that never gets paid. What happened next? The one thing more powerful than hate in Hollywood? Silence. Oprah, who once gave Meghan a global platform, now won't even utter her name, not in meetings, not in interviews, not in private. She's been erased. Gayle King, quiet. Spotify, canceled. Netflix, embarrassed. Even Meghan's passion project, an animated series about girl power, was scrapped before it saw a single frame. And that $20 million podcast deal, one executive called it a narcissism seminar. The royal family didn't yell. They didn't write press statements. They did something worse. They went silent. King Charles cut them out of inheritance talks. William never calls. Harry just walks behind Meghan, head down, door after door closing in front of him. They've been removed from the royal map. Not out of spite, but out of protocol. Because at this point, Meghan isn't just a family headache. She's a PR disaster. It was supposed to be her legacy, her mission, her proof to the world that she wasn't just a duchess, but a woman of purpose.
I'm happy now that they can go back to Montecito. He was a bitter, bitter man at the coronation. You could tell he was wearing it all over his face. And now he can just go home and sit in the misery that he created for himself. He's an unhappy man. He married an unhappy woman. They're going to sit in Montecito. It doesn't matter how big their mansion gets. They're never going to be happy. She can nail every Spotify deal, WME representation she wants. It's never going to fulfill the hole that's inside of her because there's something wrong with this woman.
But now, Meghan Markle's beloved nonprofit, the Archewell Foundation, isn't making headlines for changing lives. It's under fire for something far more damaging. Investigators say the books don't balance. Over $2.3 million spent on operating costs last year, yet no clear programs, no direct aid, and no transparent impact. Just vague blog posts, polished photo ops, and designer-clad appearances at community events that looked more like Vogue cover shoots than charitable outreach.
Plenty of new things about the foundation. Surprise, surprise, money they promised to send them, they didn't, as you say. Hardly a 40-hour week that they're working on this thing.
1 hour per week. I said 1 hour per day. No, it's 1 hour per week that they work on their little Archewell charitable foundation that they needed to leave the royal family to be able to pursue. You don't have to be a royal to be charitable, to serve the public. Well, if you are a royal, you have to do more than 1 hour a week. Maybe that's why she was so distraught. My God, remember she said the Australia tour, it was so difficult because this is what she's used to working. 1 hour a week, Paul. Together, the two of them 1 hour. It was like a half an hour for her, half an hour for him. I think it went like this. This is Meghan Markle's working on herself. Nailed it again. I'm good. Photo shoot. Okay. Cheers. Okay, print it. That's probably how it went because they're not even doling out any money.
And the money? It didn't stop at operations. A leaked report suggests foundation funds may have gone toward Meghan's personal stylist, luxury aromatherapy, and PR image consultants. One staffer even claimed money was spent on mood lighting for Zoom calls. Yes, mood lighting. But it doesn't stop at bad optics. Former vendors, PR firms, media strategists, and event planners are coming forward with damning claims. We were owed over $80,000, said one LA-based firm. We begged for payment. They ghosted us until we threatened legal action. Inside Archewell, things were spiraling. Emails leaked. Warnings ignored. One advisor begged Meghan to separate personal expenses from nonprofit finances. Her response, "This is my organization. I do what I want." That single quote is now echoing through legal circles, because when a nonprofit is used as a personal piggy bank, it's not just bad press, it's potential criminal exposure. Tax experts are now circling. California's Attorney General is watching, and if the IRS steps in, this won't be just another scandal. It'll be a headline-making federal case. The foundation that was supposed to heal may be the one that finally breaks everything. A mission built on compassion is now collapsing under its own weight, with lawsuits looming, staff walking out, and Meghan's last shred of credibility leaking through the cracks. Because once the world questions your intentions, no publicist can save you. The truth doesn't just hurt, it bankrupts your image. Meghan Markle once stood on palace steps as a modern icon, divorced, biracial, American royalty. She had the world at her feet, the media, the movement, the money. And now, no agents, no producers, no press waiting at the door. Not because she failed, but because she burned every bridge on her way to the top. And now, there's no way back down. Want more explosive stories like this one? Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell so you never miss a drop. And if you believe the truth, no matter how inconvenient, deserves to be heard, give this video a share, because when a fairy tale ends, someone has to tell the real story.